Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're talking with economist Eugenia Larmore about interest rates and more on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
MAGA extremist Sam Brown has repeatedly supported efforts to ban abortion without any exceptions for rape or incest. Before moving to Nevada, Brown ran for office in Texas, where he supported the ban that had the toughest restrictions in the country, and he strongly supported overturning Roe v. Wade.
On issues of life, that is a non-negotiable for me.
Sam Brown's extreme far-right agenda is wrong for Nevada. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Story County is leading Nevada. Home of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, Google, Tesla, Panasonic, and other world-leading companies. Story County provides thousands of tech, advanced manufacturing, and logistics careers for Nevadans. We're diversifying and driving Nevada's economy and generating millions in tax revenue and billions in economic activity across northern Nevada. Story County is leading Nevada's future.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, when anything happens in the economic field, that is my time to call Eugenia Larmore, PhD, MBA, and president of Ekay Economic Consultants, to find out what is going on. Welcome.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for having me.
You're always welcome. So we saw the Fed cut interest rates. And the reality for me, looking back over the last 40 years, is that really the interest rates, even at this higher level, weren't that high. But now we're seeing them drop down. Where do you see these in relationship to recent years?
Absolutely, a great question. And some believe that the Fed was too late in dropping the rates. Some believe that it's too early. But we have been, since about 2010, we have been in a very low interest rate climate. And we lowered the interest rates before, during the Great Recession, in order to recover from the impacts of the Great Recession, stimulate the economy. Interest rate lowering is a great tool for stimulating the economy. And we did that again during the COVID pandemic, as we expected a significant negative economic impact of all of the closures. We wanted to, again, at least bring down the rates to stimulate business and consumer spending. That created a historically low interest rate environment. And it got us spoiled. We got used to those numbers. Compared to the interest rates in the 80s and the 90s, we were at a near zero interest rate environment.
I remember buying my house back in the late 80s, and the second on my house at that time was around 16%. So when I see numbers like 6% for mortgage rates, it's like, well, it's not that bad.
Even in more recent years, my first house in 2006 my second was 9.75%. I think the bit of the difference is the prices. That's while the interest rates may have been significantly low, our prices increased. So in that balance, the total burden on the home buyers was still pretty high.
It was interesting. The other day, Ed Lawson, mayor of Sparks, was on the program, and he was talking about the lack of availability of housing, and that if we keep going at the current rate we're going, that you could see home prices double again. which is great if you already own your home. But if you're trying to buy a home, it makes things pretty much impossible unless you're coming from another place where you have a lot of cash. How bad do you think this is going to get?
I think, well, I think there's certainly a lack of availability of housing in the Reno-Sparks area. And I think it's important for us to start seeing ourselves as a region. Homes are significantly lower priced out in Fernley. Fallon Churchill County has been very interested in growing their housing supply. I think at some point it's an issue of demand as well. Everybody wants to live near the amenities. And that's what's really driving the prices, is both the issue of supply and demand. We're not building enough, and we have quite a few people that want to live here where all of the amenities are.
So, it seems like living with your parents or roommates to save up a down payment is no longer the right thing to do, and renting is not the right thing to do. Is the American dream of home ownership overblown at this point, to where it's okay to be renting with roommates, it's okay to be living with your folks or somebody else to be able to save up money? Or are the numbers just too large to accommodate that?
Well, I think it really depends on the numbers we're talking about. It is almost impossible for a single person to purchase a home in Reno at average wage, right? There's obviously outliers. But the rent is available. It's about $1,600, which is our median rent value in the Reno-Sparks area. You can be making $31, which is about the median wage, and you can live by yourself and afford rent. So it becomes more of a financial and less of an emotional issue of what can you afford. And again, regionally, you can afford quite a bit more in Cold Springs or northern parts of Reno than you can downtown or maybe the southern parts, or same thing with Fernley. You can afford more in Fernley. But definitely that single worker household where maybe the spouse stays at home, it's going to be very difficult to afford to purchase a home. Rent is obviously a little bit easier.
And that, of course, always brings up childcare, because the cost of childcare is so great that, especially if you have more than one child, but even if you have one child, you're paying $17-18 an hour for childcare, and you're making, $32 an hour. Is it worth going to work?
And actually, I've recently seen an article in certain location, childcare has become the highest expense. It used to be shelter, rent, or mortgage. Now childcare has become the highest expense for some of the households. So certainly that creates a discussion within the household of maybe it's better to stay home for one of the spouses. What makes more sense financially?
Let's go back to the Fed for a moment. So, the Fed has been talking about potentially 2 or 3 more decreases in the interest rates. What effect do you think that is going to have on the economy if we see those numbers go down again?
Well, so far, the 0.5% cut that they did back in September.
Which was large, right?
It was larger than expected. The Fed has been signaling that they're going to do quarter increases. We did a 0.5% increase, well, they did in September. They're signaling maybe 2 more quarter increases, or am I saying increases? Decreases, of course. We would hate to see increases right now. It would do bad things to the economy. But those decreases have been mostly mental. When the Fed decreased the rate in September, it had barely any effect on the mortgage rates. And that's really what we're expecting, right? As the Fed decreases the rates, we want the credit cards, the automobile loans, and the mortgage rates to decline. We're going to need to see a significant decrease before a significant impact on those occurs. But mentally, within the economy, it's signaled that the Fed thinks that we have, if not completely conquered inflation, but at least have made significant progress, which at inflation at 2.5%, we're very close to their goal of 2%. And the 2% goal is relatively flexible. We love seeing 2.5. That's below some of the long-term historical numbers of 3%. So it shows that the Fed is confident in the economy, But it also shows that they're watching a little bit of a wobble in the labor market. And that's the concern, is that if we don't decrease the rates enough and quickly enough, that we may see a labor market impact and potentially, and this is still very unlikely and significantly, but a potential recession in the future.
Do you see that with rates the way they are right now and the economy the way it is right now, that robotics are going to become more and more a way of life, especially in certain service industries?
Absolutely. I think robotics are the wave of the future. We've had significant wage increases, I think, and the improvements in technology that, may eliminate some human error. Not only cut costs. I think that's certainly the issue with the port dispute that we're having that's going to have a tremendous economic impact if that continues. But there's a lot of industries that will be impacted by AI and by robotics replacing employment, or if not replacing, at least enhancing.
Well, if you go back to the Industrial Revolution, a lot of jobs were displaced, but other work was found for those people. If you look at the banking industry, when ATMs came online, everybody was concerned that banks would be emptied of employees because ATMs don't take days off and they don't need sick days and all the rest. And yet they found work for those people. Is that your view, that people will continue to be employed but just in different ways?
Absolutely. And we have seen, I recently saw an article that the addition of the order screens at fast food restaurants has actually led to an increase in ordering. People are visually seeing what they could purchase. It increases their behavior of ordering things they may not have ordered in the past. That increases the need for production workers. So you're switching people from cash registers to production. And we certainly will see quite a bit of that. It's just our job to make sure we're staying on top of that and training people in where they need to be. So instead of doing the job that is now being replaced by a robot, we need to maintain the robots. We need to create them. We need to program them. So there's going to be, like you said, a shift of where those employees can be used.
Is one of the things that should give us hope is the fact that more and more jobs that were considered very blue-collar work are now turning into computer jobs. And will that be, with a generation or multiple generations now that have been raised on computer games, that will be more of an enticement for the people to go into those jobs rather than necessarily going on to university? Or if they do go to university or community college, they'll be going for those computer-based jobs.
Absolutely, and those are very well-paying jobs. And they require a whole different level of education, like you said, maybe a little less university and more specialized programs.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more with Eugenia Larmore after this time out.
They want us to believe we only have two options. That's just not working anymore. I've never been a follower. I'm a businessman and entrepreneur. I'm ready to forge a new path to secure our future, one that keeps Northern Nevada free, fair, and wild. A path that means freedom for all, including affordable housing.
I'm Greg Kidd, and I approve this message because I'm not from either political party. I'm for Nevada.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators. From the exotic to the everyday. Trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with economist Eugenia Larmore. She's president of Ekay Economic Consultants. Nevada's economy just seems to be on fire, and in a good way, from Las Vegas all the way up to the northern border with Thacker Pass and lithium mining. I don't think I've ever seen a time like this in the state in the time I've lived here, which is a long time. How good is this?
Well, we always talked about how gaming was recession-proof until it was not. We as a state really needed something else to infuse diversity of industry and new growth into the economy, and we did it. In northern Nevada, we did it through manufacturing and distribution. In southern Nevada, there's a heavy emphasis on sports. Across the state, we are doing mining. As you mentioned, lithium is a big deal within our state. Last year, in 2023, we were the fastest growing state out of all of the states in the nation in terms of GDP. In the second quarter of this year, we slowed down. We slowed down to about 1.8% compared to about 2.8% in California. Utah grew by about 6%. So our growth has slowed, but it's still very positive. And we are creating very high-paying jobs. And like I said, our industry base is diversifying, which we really love seeing.
With California and all the rules and all the taxes and the craziness over there, are we going to continue to see a major outflow from there towards Nevada?
Towards Nevada, towards Texas, across the state, across the nation, yes, but we have quite benefited from California's rules and regulations in Nevada, also our very positive tax structure comparative to California.
It just, I don't know. I look at all the information coming out of California, and I just shake my head as to, it's a beautiful state and very nice people, but, from the crime levels in the major cities to all the government rules and regulations, why would anybody want to start a business there?
Or, if in more personal terms, live there. It's very difficult to imagine having two states, one with no income tax, very relaxed regulations, and one with significant, maybe social issues, but also tax issues and regulation, and choosing as a business, choosing to be located in California, unless you just need that absolute proximity to the client base. But the improvements, the robotics, and also the improvements in the transportation networks and things like that really make it more flexible for businesses to be located. And we are so close, and our transportation networks are so good to California that it would be difficult, personally, if I was a business owner, it would be difficult for me to justify being in California.
The other side of that, too, is we're now seeing major corporations saying, you got to come back to the office. You can't be doing work from home. Do you not think that there's going to be a bifurcated system where for some people it's going to be okay? Isn't it based on the productivity level of that person as to whether they are able to work remotely or not?
Certainly at the personal level, yes. Some people are made for just nose to the grindstone. All I need is my computer and a room to work in. Some need that social environment. It also obviously depends on the job. Some service jobs just cannot be done remotely. But I think I have a lot of sympathy for businesses trying to get their employees back in the workforce with the employees being used to staying at home. And having that, the issue that most businesses face is having that to make, like you said, a bifurcated system where, well, you're in this industry or you're in this occupation, you can stay home, but then I have to tell everybody else to come back to the workplace. That's a difficulty that's a lot of businesses are going to be facing.
From an economic point of view, do you also look at the social aspects of being at a company? I mean, because to me, I'm fine on my own, but if I can be in a room full of other like-minded people, we can bounce our ideas around, we can come up with all kinds of things, and it's much better than being just on a Zoom call. And Zoom is fine, but it just seems that personal contact, that interaction, is very valuable to me. Is it valuable to industry in general?
Yes, I think it's valuable both to creativity, especially for industries that thrive on that, something like marketing or things like that. No, economists, we sit in dark rooms and we crunch numbers. It may be a little less important to have that social interaction, but certain industries really thrive on that. And of course, productivity. As I mentioned, some people can do self-discipline and have that that ability to perform, and some don't. And we saw data during the COVID closures of some industries saw a tremendous improvement in their worker productivity when they were home, and some saw declines.
Do you think that the economic stimulation that came out at the beginning of COVID and during COVID, a lot of economists, ones who in the past were, don't increase government spending versus the ones that said do increase government spending, everybody seemed to be on the same page to increase government spending. Do you think in the short time we've had to look back on this that was the right thing to do? Because now with, $35 trillion debt?
It was absolutely the right thing to do initially. We were headed into darkness. We had no clue how bad, how long the epidemic was going to last, and we expected just a complete economic shutdown and severe impact on the economy, so that the initial stimulus and the initial lowering of rates, I think, was absolutely appropriate. I think we overextended the stimulus payments. I think the last few iterations were probably too much. We were already on the upswings. Once the businesses were allowed to open, I think the economy really returned to previous, well, actually not previous, they had exceeded previous levels. So maybe the last two stimuluses, looking back with what we know now, were probably maybe not unnecessary, but at least too much.
Yes, I would have to agree. Let's take another break and we'll be right back after this.
MAGA extremist Sam Brown has repeatedly supported efforts to ban abortion without any exceptions for rape or incest. Before moving to Nevada, Brown ran for office in Texas, where he supported the ban that had the toughest restrictions in the country, and he strongly supported overturning Roe v. Wade.
On issues of life, that is a non-negotiable for me.
Sam Brown's extreme far-right agenda is wrong for Nevada. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the do-it-right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with economist Eugenia Larmore. She's president of Ekay Economic Consultants. So you know, the interest rate cut and the cuts to that are, I don't want to say promised, but hinted at, as the Fed does, are they what we really need, or are they, you know, an election period offering?
You know, for a long time, as the Fed started to increase the rates, they talked about decreasing the rates once they combat inflation. Once inflation got to about that 2% rate, they were always going to decrease it. I think the prediction right now is that we are going to get into somewhere in the 3% by the end of 2026, which is a relatively comfortable, still lower than historical levels, but a relatively comfortable near zero, but it still gives us some future cuts if the economy goes into a recession. I think the biggest issue right now is really watching that labor market to make sure those cuts are necessary, that they're not made too quick or too slow. We saw some declines in employment that we were really concerned about in unemployment rates and job creation. In July and August, we're popping back up. ADT just released their private payroll numbers, and they're increased higher than was expected. So the labor market is still not suffering. We're still not seeing that negative impact yet. So I think the Fed is going to be very careful in their rate cuts, but they're certainly going to cut them. I think again, as everybody got used to the lower rates, I think our economy just, at least emotionally, depends on that rate cut that tells us everything's okay and we've got this under control.
And isn't that the truth? It's all about emotion and confidence.
Yes.
And that's where we have to leave it. Thank you so much for doing this. I always appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
It's a good time to eat. It's a good time to play.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good time's a tamarack.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day on various platforms, including television, radio, our website, audio and video podcasts, YouTube. If you want to find the show, you can find it pretty darn easily. And we cover politics, business, health, and education. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next broadcast.